Will Josh Jacobs be our starting running back week 1? Let's see. Welcome back, Raider Nation, and my champions. We are live. This is Eric, and we're live once again on a Friday evening. How you guys doing tonight? For those of you just starting to come in, hello. Also, if you're watching this on a replay, how you doing tonight? And if you're not subscribed, why not subscribe so you can join us live here instead of watching the replay? I do get a lot of people watching our replays, so I want to say hello to all of you going on right here. The big thing we're going to talk about tonight is minicamp. It just ended. That was a mandatory minicamp. And of course, Josh Jacobs was not there. We'll get into that a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about the Raiders and what they could do if this situation goes on. We'll talk about the Josh Jacobs situation in its entirety. I want to say hello to you guys right now. Matthew Pohl already putting in his comment here. He's going to hold out because they will fail to find a sweet spot. We'll talk about that in a minute. Dominique, how you doing? What's up to you as well? And I've already got a few people already coming on in here. So this is how we normally do it. Now we'll be talking about that and a few other things. Now, this is how we normally do things here. And we call it the rundown, right? We have our topics that we're going to talk about here. And I'll have this on a banner screen down at the bottom here in a minute. And then we go to you guys. And tonight, if you want to do question and answer, we will be live. You can have live chat. You can come on. It's the pinned comment here. If you want to take a look at that, you click on that. It'll basically put you in a green room. You just put your name or your handle here on YouTube, and I will let you in. You do not have to be on camera. You can come and sound off on Raider Nation what you think was going on this offseason, and of course with Josh Jacobs' situation. So that said, let's get to the first thing we want to talk about, and that's you guys. That's our champions.
And I hear everyone say, take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
And of course, these are the counts right now. Honestly, pretty stagnant. Actually lost one from last week. It's kind of amazing. I was before that, I was off for 2 weeks on a little hiatus and didn't really lose any. Last 30 days been very stagnant with this channel, unfortunately. I've talked about this, and we'll talk about the future of this channel in a minute after we talk about the Josh Jacobs news. But I do appreciate you guys coming in here right now, watching live, participating, and also watching on replay. So thank you very much for that. Now, as we normally do, we have a poll of the week, and this week is no exception. We're just going to be talking about the situation going on here. And it's usually about the topic we're going to be talking about. And, you know, frankly, it's kind of the off season right now. Not a whole lot going on. Let's be honest right now. We just did have mini camp. I wanted to ask you guys, because some of you have floated some different ideas, especially during the off season, what we could be doing here on the channel. And I asked you guys, what would you most prefer see on the Friday live stream? And I put just Raider content only, Raider plus NFL news, Raider NFL and fantasy. And I just put a surprise me there, and about 9% of you said that. So majority of you say Raider content only. Of course, Raider channel, I understand that. We're going to talk mostly about Raiders tonight, a little bit about the NFL. It's basically, I want to go over some of our plan B options if this Josh Jacobs thing does not resolve itself one way or the other. So we're going to go with that. And with that said, let's get right to what we're going to talk about, and that's minicamp. Yes, the mini camp is here. It's here and gone. We're going to talk about this in a minute. I want to say hello to you guys. So yeah, we got the banner at the bottom right here, if you can see that, to keep you up to date on the topics we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to go over some items here. Some of the articles from minicamp. Now, I will kind of preface some of this. Now, this first one is from Raiders.com. So obviously there's going to be some bias to it. It's going to be not a whole lot of negativity. Let's be honest, makes sense. It's from them. So they had a thing called the Levi Edwards, one of their reporters, top observations from the mandatory minicamp. So they did have the mandatory minicamp. It just ended. So not everybody was there. We'll talk about that in a minute. They're not going to mention it here on the Raiders.com, of course. They go over 3 items that they want to talk about. First one's development of the backfield, which I think is very interesting. And they talk about the opportunities for several running backs there. And you can tell one name is missing there, Josh Jacobs. They don't really talk about Josh Jacobs at all. That makes sense. They talk about Zamir White and Britton Brown, 2 players we drafted in last year's draft. Not really did a whole lot. I mean, Zamir White was mostly used in short yardage situations because he's a big bowling ball. Britton Brown, not used much at all. He was a 7th round pick, so I'm not going to say, oh, that's a bust. I mean, 7th round picks are kind of reaches anyway. But it's going to be very interesting. This might be a reason to watch some of the preseason games because I'm sure these guys are going to get a lot of work, especially Britton Brown. Mick Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, was talking about kind of the growing pains with these guys. And he's saying, no, they don't go out there and mess up every play. You know, you got to learn from your mistakes, kind of PC, what you're going to hear. That said, until I see it from Zamir White, he is not the heir apparent to Josh Jacobs, even if we end up trading him or Josh is holding out. We'll get to that in a minute, a little bit more detail on that. Then they talked about Sincere McCormick, who tore his ACL last offseason, and there's like optimism from him. Actually, he's undrafted free agent, right? So that's number one. Number two, it takes probably about 12 to 15 months for an ACL to be properly healed. I mean, I know there's exceptions to that rule, but plus, like I said, he was a backup anyway, undrafted free agent. So, I mean, I wish him well, but I'm not seeing him as like the heir apparent either. It would be great if he was a diamond in the rough, of course, but I'm not going to pin my hopes on that. Second item they talked about was the strength of the secondary. I kind of agree with this, and then they go right to the safeties. They don't talk a whole lot. Talk a whole lot about the corners here. If you look, I actually don't think they even mentioned a corner in the segment here. This paragraph, this section. Strength of the secondary. We got Marcus Epps, of course, from Philadelphia. I think that was a solid one. I think he could play free or strong, which is good. Brandon Faison, he is a corner. A big guy. They might be moving him to safety. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Remember, he was with us 2 seasons ago and then moved on to the Colts with Gus Bradley, doing okay with that. That was pretty much it as far as the secondary. And they talked about Merrick, of course. And I said he had kind of a sophomore slump and he needs to kind of step up here. So I tell it like it is. What's up to you? My opinion, I see you in here as well. Third thing, this Raiders.com article, like, okay, competition on defense. That's a big no shit right there. I mean, especially the defensive tackle position. They're bringing back a couple of starters, Bilal Nichols and Jerry Tillery. Now, Bilal Nichols, not too impressed with, kind of up and down, average at best, I would say. Jerry Tillery, I am excited that we re-signed him. If you've listened to me before, this is a former first-round pick of the Chargers. Didn't pan out there. They moved him to defensive end. Didn't pan out. This is a 3-4 system. Had some flashes with us. Now, he came in. We picked him off waivers last year, basically off the scrap heap, just learning the system and all that. And we saw some flashes. So I'm very interested to see that. I'm still not very happy with the situation at defensive tackle overall, how it was basically not addressed in free agency. I'm not going to talk about Jackson and Adam Butler. To me, he has to show something a little bit more for me to have enough faith in that. Byron Young was picked in the draft. Still, though, I think that's been a sore spot for at least 2 seasons now. I've talked about this, and we really don't have somebody in there right now. So I think the optimism's there with Jerry Tillery. He's probably our best chance if we're looking for some kind of star. I know Butler had some sacks with the Patriots. I understand that, getting some interior pressure. Of course, another Patriot. What else is new? But let's see him do it here in Vegas. And then that was the last one on that. So they talked about the secondary. They talked about. I was going to talk about Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. I mean, we got Tyree Wilson. I think he's going to be doing the heavy lifting. I mean, I still think Chandler Jones is probably going to have a bounce back season just for the fact that we're probably going to cut him anyway. And he's going to look for one last contract on his way out of the league. You know, he's in, 31 now? 32. So let's see. Tillery is good. Yep. Butler might be cut. We'll see. I mean, the depth at defensive tackle, anybody can make this team. I mean, the bar's kind of low. Let's be honest, and it's been for a while. Let's be honest here. Matthew Butler could be cut if you're talking about him. Neil Farrell is a big guy. They'll probably give him another year, just so you have a one tech. And you want to have depth too. People get hurt. We always have injuries at that position. Even remember Gerald McCoy getting hurt week 1, out for his career, basically, knee injury, but he never came back. He retired, but still. So it's good to have depth there. Overall, though, I'm not really happy with how we addressed it overall. I think we could have done a better job with that. I know we have $30 million in dead cap. That's going to hamper us, and most of that was from the old regime. I understand that. So I'm hoping Jerry Tillery is kind of a diamond in the rough. Another kind of old school Raider where we would pick guys up off the scrap heap. Lau Alzato's, Jim Plunkett, another guy who comes to mind, first overall pick with the Patriots, who kind of was a bust back in the day. We picked him up. He won 2 Super Bowls. So I'm hoping. I'm going to be optimistic with that. So let's get into the Josh Jacobs one now. This is from SB Nation. It says Josh Jacobs not a mandatory minicamp, and it makes sense. Well, number one, here, this is why he has been tagged, designated franchise tag. He hasn't. Him and the Raiders have until July 17th to sign that 1-year deal. It's a mandatory 1-year deal where he gets paid the average of the top 5 running backs. It's a little under $11 million for this year. However, the team and the player can reach an agreement for a long-term deal, and that's all good, good to go. So, but basically the Raiders basically retain his rights and prevent him from going to free agency. Now, I can understand him not coming to a mandatory minicamp because of this. Maybe it would have been a little bit good faith if he did. I'm still wondering if he still wants to be on the team. He has said as such in some interviews, but until, the pen gets to the paper, until we see it, I'm not so sure. And this is something to keep a close eye on. And again, we have until July 17th. It's a little over a month away. And then training camp starts probably end of July. They still haven't had a formal date where it starts. It's usually late July, early August. So at that point, then everybody's mandatory to go to the training camp for a couple of weeks. Then we get into the preseason and the regular season. No show Jones. Yeah. If the players that didn't show, the Raiders have the prerogative of finding them because it's a mandatory event under the collective bargaining agreement with the players union. So now the OTAs was optional. They didn't have to show up, but I'm just kind of wondering. So I want to first talk about, let's go back to that salary cap. And I showed this last week. And some of the numbers here, again, the $30 million in dead cap, at least 20 of it, I would say about at least 20 of it is tied to the Gruden Mayock regime. So I can't hit this Patriots regime on that. It's not fair. That does hamper us. Even if we had half of that, we could probably have gotten a decent signing somewhere on defense. Let's be honest. The cap space right here, top 51. Again, we're going to keep 53 players by the time the season starts. I think we have like 91 active contract. Now, some of those are going to be outright cut. A lot of those are min guys, low wages. I'm not real worried about that. or go to the practice squad. And basically, other teams could sign them off our practice squad if they put them on their active squad. So it's just kind of a way to keep reserves. But as far as the active roster, it's going to be 53 once they get to the final cut down. And I believe that's right after the last. They usually we'll have the dates up for you, but it's usually right after that last preseason game. Right now, we're at a little under 4 million for the top 51. And keep in mind, we'll have 2 more, but there'll probably be min guys. So we're kind of right near the salary cap right now. I say that because there's a lot of people saying rumors. What about Dalvin Cook? What about Dalvin Cook? We can't afford Zeke Elliott. We can't really afford Dalvin Cook unless we trade Josh Jacobs or get rid of him, right? We can't pay both. And why would we? That wouldn't make any sense at all. Especially when, we have problems on defense. If you were going to try to manipulate the cap, put more on the defensive side of the ball. We were 30th last year. It doesn't make any sense. So I think Fournette would be a very interesting one if we get him on the cheap. Kareem Hunt, not so sure he still has that fire that he did back with KC, especially those last year with Cleveland. I think Chubb kind of basically took over the lead spot, and when they first got there, it was almost like a committee, and then he just kind of took away the shares. Zeke Elliott has not really impressed, and he's not going to be running behind that Dallas offensive line, which is probably better than ours, to be honest with you. Dalvin Cook can kind of do it all. That, to me, he would be a good plan B if things blow up with Josh Jacobs. I would rather keep Jacobs here, but you never know. If he doesn't want to stay here, then we can't keep him. That's the bottom line here. So let's see. Let's get to your opinion. I see some opinions on here already. Let's see. Dalvin. Let's see. I don't think they will find a deal. None of these teams will want to pay running backs. Dalvin just got released. Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think Dalvin Cook is probably the best of the bunch as far as the available running backs. I wonder if the Bills will make a play. Well, they got his brother there, James Cook. So that would be very interesting. I'd have to look at the Bills' salary cap numbers. They could probably make it work. We have no interest in Cook. Well, we have no interest in God, no, not Fournette. Fournette's not bad, but if I had to pick one on here, it'd be Dalvin Cook. But again, I would rather have Josh Jacobs back. I would rather have him signed to a 2 or 3 year deal and get this behind us. And hopefully, I think after this season, that a lot of that dead cap goes away. We'll probably have to incur a little bit on Chandler Jones because he's likely going to be cut a little bit. But we're going to have a lot more room to play with. And the salary cap's going to expand. So, and we have the Jimmy G situation as well. I mean, what's going to happen with this guy? The talk, from McDaniels and company is that they're not really worried about him not passing the physical, but it's still there. It's still lingering. And even if he does, obviously he is an injury risk. And I keep saying this, guys, is that a lot of the Derek Carr haters, I'm not a lover or a hater. I think off the field, he's a great guy personally, as a man and a father and all that. That's great. I think I've had problems with him on the field. There's times where he's looked great and there's times where he's looked terrible. But getting Jimmy G in here is not the answer. A lot of people called Derek Carr check down Charlie. Wait and see. Wait and see with Jimmy G. Wait and see. I'm just saying. So let's see. That is weird. I'm looking at you guys' chats, but my little widget is not working. I have to keep rebooting it. It's one of those things. Let's see. Zach can only be Zach Crockett. That's a blast from the past. God, I hate Jimmy G. I just think he's overrated. I think he was on the heels of a great team with the Niners as far as running the ball and great defense. For him to win games for us, I don't think it's gonna happen. Spell check. DC4 is my boy. You know, I gotta lay the blame, this whole DC4 situation, on this new regime. They did extend him. They did lay the contract out where he would basically get $40 million if we kept him. They did put the deadline for that to kick in before the new season started, so that tied our hands. So to me, the way the contract and the no trade clause, so to me, the regime looked this time last year when they gave him the extension, they were thinking he's going to be our quarterback for the future, and it didn't work out. So that's shame on the new regime on that one. Just the way it was handled, and then letting him go to New Orleans to talk to them like you were going to get some draft picks out of them. Hey, you're insane. I'm not even going to say that word. That probably comes up because of situation going on in the world. Damn it. Okay. All right. So this is where we stand right now as far as the lineup. So we looked at this last time. Merrick and Epps. I see Epps as a strong safety. He could take the free safety spot if Merrick stumbles again. Let's be honest. I could see that happening. They still have Diablo as the mic. They gave him the green dot, the communication. So they're expecting big things from him. So I guess that's a good sign if they see that he is willing to take that on and make the next steps. I think Spillane could be the mic as well. He could do that as well as be the weak side linebacker. So don't worry about that. Masterson was, came on, looks pretty good at diagnosing and stopping running plays. Still a little raw though. We'll see about that. Duke Shelley, Long, we talked about. This could be something. If we could get Smith in here to create a little bit of pressure, if Tillery steps up and Tyree Wilson takes over the job here, this could be an underrated front four. Let's be honest. So, of course, Crosby's a stud. He's always a stud. It is what it is. No problem with that. Devontae Adams, he's fourth ranked. This is PFF, by the way. 90.1 rating last year. I'm gonna say that the numbers, especially you guys don't want to talk about fantasy. We got 0% on fantasy talk, but I'll just throw this out there. I would not rely on him in a fantasy capacity. Big reason because we got Jimmy G there. It's going to be a lot of short passes. He's not going to go deep to Adams. I don't see him dropping bombs like Derek Carr did. I just don't see it, guys. And that's probably why we got Jacoby Myers, another short route guy, sure-handed, bigger kind of guy. Hunter Renfrow is still here. We'll have a Hunter Renfrow watch. At this point, I don't think we're going to trade him. I'm thinking if we would have traded him, we would have done it before the draft. That has not happened. Austin Hooper, let's see how he does. Look good. Like I said, look good with the Falcons when he came in the league. Not so much with Cleveland. But like I said, Garoppolo loves short pass. This could be a little bounce back. Do I think he's going to be absolute stud? I don't know about that, but it could be a little bounce back for this guy. Still wondering if we still have Andre James on the roster, so I guess we're going to pay him $7-8 million to be center. I don't understand that one at all. Maybe he'll restructure. That would be the best case. Kind of like what Richie Incognito did a couple years back. We talked about that. I said, there's no way we can keep Gabe Jackson and Incognito, and we got rid of Gabe Jackson and Incognito. We technically cut Incognito. This is the old regime, but it was like a cut, and then we knew we were going to re-sign him. We signed him for cheaper. So technically we did, but I wouldn't totally realistically count that. I think something's going to happen with this contract, though. Illuminor, I think it will be solid right tackle. Not the greatest, but not Brandon Parker, thank God. Need some work here at guard position. Barr and Parham. Hopefully Parham kind of learns a little bit. He was a rookie. He got beat on some stunts really, really bad over the season. You can look at that. Alex Barr is from Chicago. We picked him up last year in free agency. Not very good, and PFF says it as well. 71st out of 77 guards ranked. I don't know why this. I'm thinking he's not going to make the 53-man roster unless, of course, we get some injuries or something like that. Let's see. Young 2 at defensive tackle. Well, he's a 3rd-round pick. You're talking about Byron Young. So, I'll temper a little bit of expectations on that. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. We have a little young nucleus. Let's see how they perform. Yeah, Diablo. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of good things about Divine Diablo. So I'm hoping so. Of course, I'm a Raider fan. I hope it works out with him. Like I said, they gave him the green dot. That means he's going to be getting the communication in the plays. He's got to worry about his assignments. He's got to worry about everybody else, their positioning, the pre-snap, and everything else. So he's getting more responsibility. So that is a definite plus. Let's see. I'm sorry. I gotta keep rebooting this chat because for some reason it's not staying on. Usually it'll load up. Let's see. Paul Gaines, how you doing? How you doing, Paul? How you doing? My opinion says I drafting Tay, not grab JJ once. So, well, if you want to talk about fantasy, it all depends on your rules and scoring. That's number one. And then number two, the average draft position. I'm saying if Devontae Adams, if he goes in the first or early second, I wouldn't get near him. I don't think he's going to give you that production with Jimmy G here. I just don't see it. He'll probably have a couple good games, but week in and week out, it's hard for me to trust him as a fantasy player, individual player scoring. Being my wide receiver one, my stud. I don't see that. I see Jimmy G spreading this ball around. If we keep Hunter, which it looks like we are, we'll see. Hunter, I just said him. Jacoby Myers, you got Austin Hooper here. A lot of short passes. And let's get back to Josh Jacobs. My opinion, I do have the poll on here as far as the live chat. What do you think Josh Jacobs' fate will be? Most of you say we'll get that contract done just by a little bit. A lot of it's spread out, 33%. 1 year tag, 27%. Hold that 27%. And trade, 13%. I agree, champ. My opinion on that, I think he will sign the 1 year tag. I do not think we will get a long-term deal done. I'm thinking, that would be great. I would hope that. But if I had to put my chips, on the wheel, on the roulette wheel on the table, I would say he's going to sign that 1 year tag by the 17th. And we'll probably keep him for a year and then see where that goes. Who knows? My opinion says holdout. A lot of people said holdout. I had a holdout. Let me see. Yep. Matthew Pohl also said holdout. It's going to be interesting. I don't think so. I think he'll sign the 1 year. That's my opinion. We'll see what happens. So, let's see. That's pretty much all I wanted to share with you guys. So anyway, let's get this. There we go. How you guys doing? If you got any more comments relating to this? We usually go about an hour. If you're new here, especially if you're watching this on a replay, why not subscribe? Definitely hit a like button. Hit that like button while you're here. I'd enjoy that. And if you want to come into the chat, we can set the chat up. See, I'm right out here outside Vegas. Hurry up. I want to hit the blackjack tables here at Harris. We can set up, we got the restream set up. Let me hook that up. Got the pinned comment. Hang on. Let me get the pinned comment. You should see it at the top of your screen. It should look like this. Join the live chat here. You click that pinned comment. Be sure to mute this live stream on this tab. So it'll open a new tab to go to restream. You just type in your YouTube handle. You don't have to be on camera. Get your mic ready. We can talk about the Raiders. And if you want to do that, we have that available as well. Some people like that. Some people just like to chat in the written text, and that's cool too. So what say you? What do you guys have to say about this? I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to mute so you don't hear me gulping. Hang on. Yes. Okay. So what say you about this situation? What say you about the Raiders in general, 2023? The Jimmy G situation, we could talk about that. It's concerning me, and I talked about this last week. The whole Jimmy G. This is like the Raiders being the Raiders again. It's like we're this continuation of a joke. Uh, the Josh Jacobs situation is a little bit different. That's more contractually, and I see I have leeway with that, and I have understanding with that. Um, I think if he truly didn't want to be here, we probably would have tried to trade him. There would have been some suitors for him, obviously, but and then maybe get a deal. So let's see. What say you? Let's see. Got Art White, Mr. Aiden O'Connell here, hoping for a 3-year deal. That is max. Yeah, I'm thinking a 2 or 3 year deal. Running backs have short shelf lives, and that one article with the SB Nation talking about they were saying like, well, the Raiders, if they would have just extended him last off season, they would have saved $2 million because they'd had to pay him $8 million last year. But they conveniently didn't tell you that Josh Jacobs' numbers were steadily going in decline through those first 4 years. Nobody said that, and I said it made sense not to extend him for the way he was playing. And then he played like gangbusters, obviously had the rushing title last year. So I don't necessarily blame the regime for not taking that 5th year option on that. But again, hindsight's 2020 with these guys. It's like, oh, they could have saved $2 million. Well, no, they could have been paying $8 million for a 1,000-yard rusher too. So let's see. Did Max slight Josh Jacobs by saying something about wanting more money? I didn't hear about that. I would not expect that from Max Crosby, to be honest with you. He likes to say certain things, but he's never really heard him like rag on another teammate like that or anything like that. And from what I've heard, that's their business. I think he said something like that as far as the Derek Carr situation before the extension last off season. And obviously he got his extension last season. Well deserved, of course, but I think that, I don't think he's going to say anything, and he shouldn't. It's none of his business. So rushing title winner, the team did what they had to do. If they didn't franchise tag him and they couldn't get a deal going before the start of the season, then he'd been an unrestricted free agent. He'd be on a team right now. Let's be honest here. So let's see. So we normally go about an hour on these. Now, I do have some exceptions. If we do the mock drafts, which we do before NFL draft time, those usually go about an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it just takes so long to go through all the picks. But normally we only go about an hour. As far as the channel goes, I said this, the channel's kind of stagnant. Is what it is. I'm not gonna bitch and moan about it. If YouTube wants to promote it, they'll promote it. If they don't, they don't. That said, I have another channel. I have the link in the description. If you want to go there, the link probably doesn't work. You probably have to copy and paste it. If you're into games, I do games and separate channel on TikTok. If you want to go there, if you're into that, that's cool. If you're not, that's fine. But that said, that channel has got about 4 times the subs, what they call followers there, than this channel does here. And Have been doing it a heck of a lot longer here. Things are kind of picking up for me there. So I only have time to do so much. Plus this is the off season, not a lot happening. So I probably won't go on next week, unless something crazy happens. If we trade Josh Jacobs, something blows up with that situation, or if the Jimmy G situation, something blows up with that, like he fails his physical and now we're SOL on a starting quarterback. Probably won't go on until 2 weeks from now, just to get some updates. Really not a whole lot to talk about right now. We're not going to really sign anybody big. I'm not going to make a big to-do about some minor signing that may or may not even make the 53-man roster. Willie Snead comes to mind. Until we actually get to training camp. And like I said, it's about 6 weeks from now until that happens, 6-7 weeks. So then things will start kind of picking up. Of course, I'll probably do the halftime live shows. I like doing that. Getting on at halftime, you can hear me if the Raiders are playing like crap. You can hear me rant and rave and all that. Get your opinions on it as well. So, on Twitter, okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to see exactly what he said about that. It's not in his nature. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. But I'd like to see what he said in the context of that before I make a judgment on that. So, yeah, it's that dead time zone, says Art White. It is. It is. I mean, it's not just me. I mean, even if the channel was doing well here, I mean, growing and stuff, I mean, this is a tough time. If you look at the other content creators, there's a lot of good content creators out there too, doing Raider content. Not a whole lot going on around here. I mean, talk about the rumors. The one channel talked about getting Dalvin Cook. I mean, this complete rumor. A lot of things would have to happen for that. And frankly, why would Dalvin Cook want to come to this team? Well, we have to look at that too. It takes two to tango. And would he want to come to a team that's at least 2 years away from contending? Well, let's be honest here. I mean, especially Jimmy G he might not even survive the season if he makes it here as our starting quarterback. He's so brittle. And so we're relying on Aiden O'Connell or a rookie next year. Spend a first round pick on a rookie next year. Some people are talking about that. So I'm not so sure about the Dalvin Cook situation. I would only pursue that if everything's lost with Josh Jacobs and he basically wants to Keyshawn himself out of a deal, then you got to do what you got to do. You talk to some teams, move them, and pick up another player. They're doing charades on NFL Network. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, let's think about it, okay? Super Bowl's over. Then they have the Senior Bowl, Combine, getting ready for the draft, post-draft, and now you've got this expansion. I mean, you talk about minicamp, but how much is actually going to be made from the minicamp? Let's be honest. They're not in pads. They're not in contact. They don't get contact until like halfway through training camp, and of course that was collective bargaining with the union, players union, all that. So you're not going to really see much of anything until the preseason games where you see the backups come in because they're fighting for jobs and the other team's backups are in, they're fighting for jobs. And then you can kind of see what you got there. And that's why I was kind of a little worried about Malcolm Kuntz, because he was kind of getting bullied and manhandled by second and third stringers out there in preseason games. It's just too light. He could be a casualty here this offseason, a cut before we get to 53 NFL. So anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Again, I will be coming on probably 2 weeks from now, unless something crazy happens. I don't want to waste your time. Like I said, I've got these other things going on, this other channel, and I got other ventures too. So, and there's not, frankly, there's not much Raider talk to be talked about. Let's be honest here. Salary cap hasn't moved. We haven't signed anybody. Haven't heard anything specific about Jimmy G. Other than we'll see if he passes the physical. Supposedly he has had the surgery. We'll see what happens with that. Josh Jacobs, nothing moving on that. Hunter Renfrow, nothing coming out on that. Everything else is just conjecture at this point. So I'll take any kind of final comments, and we'll kind of close this one out a little bit early. So if you guys want to come on, you can. Final call for the restream. The pinned comment, it's at the top. You should be able to see it at the top. If you want to get on there, get on that link. If you want to come on and talk live with me, we can. Renfrow, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Renfrow. The minute they signed Jacoby Myers, that's when people were saying, oh, Renfrow's going to go. That's been a while now. What, a couple months now? March, April, we signed Jacoby Myers. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with all that. Again, I think we have like 11 wide receivers on the roster right now. Of course, it's going to be pared down. Probably end up with like 5 or 6 max. See the fight at defensive tackle. That's going to be very interesting. I think we're just going to kind of roll with the corners we have and kind of take our lumps and hope we get to the quarterback. I think that's probably our best bet. Hopefully Chandler gets a little resurgence, a bounce back, trying to get that last contract. Like I said, Tyree Wilson gets in there, disrupts. Of course, Mad Max, and we get some interior pressure as well. Jerry Tillery would be a hell. If he gives us like 5 sacks this year, oh my gosh, I would be ecstatic. That's telling me he's getting pressure. That means Max is going to be double digits easy, and probably one of the other 2 edge rushers. Way too many. Yeah. Well, again, we have 91 players technically on the active roster. Like I said in Spot Track, I showed that 91 active players, and we have to get to 53 before the season starts. So everybody's like that though. Everybody's got 80 or 90 players. A lot of them are camp bodies, like they say. Min vet deals, min deals. 700-800,000. I forgot what the min is. Something like that. 700,000-800,000. To us, that's a lot of money. But in the world of professional football and contracts, when you're dealing with $230 million salary cap, it's very little. So that's going to get pared down. Like I said, Sincere McCormick, I don't see him making the active roster, especially with the ACL injury. A lot of people are talking about him. I mean, he showed a little bit of flashes before. But then he got hurt before the season started, ACL injury. So probably a reserve guy. They'll probably keep him on reserve. Nobody will touch him. And then we'll hear this talk next season like, oh, this could be the up-and-coming guy. We'll hear that in 2024. So kind of like Regas. We heard that a couple years back. So anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm going to close out the poll here, the live poll. So get your votes in. We got 16 votes right now. And I'll give that a little bit more time. Appreciate those likes and your contributions in here in chat. But let's get that poll in. What's Josh Jacobs' fate? Will he get that contract? So that means he's getting 2 or 3 year deal and we're set to go. Or will he just sign the franchise tag and play on the 1 year deal? Or will he hold out? Or screw it, we're going to trade him. So get your final votes in now. I'll give that about another 30 seconds or so. There is a little bit of a delay here, of course, between seeing your comments and you guys hearing me and all that, just because of the platform. All the social media platforms do that when you go live. So just FYI, if you didn't know that. All right, so what's going to happen to Josh Jacobs? I mean, that's the biggest question to me. Obviously, I've said if I thought we were legitimately trying to contend this year, which they're not going to tell you that, this is rebuilding, I would be worried about the quarterback position, but frankly, I'm not. I'm almost, I don't will a shill will, I don't know Jimmy G, but he's pretty fragile. I think it would be better off, even if he stays healthy at some point, to get Aiden O'Connell in there in the regular season, see what we got. I don't think we're at this point, unless the defense steps up and creates havoc and gets a lot of pass rushing pressure. I see our cornerbacks getting eaten up again, especially with those big Denver wide receivers. I talked about that. Patrick Mahomes, that's going to be a problem. He's always a problem. If Josh Jacobs holds out, then we're pretty much screwed in the running game. If you looked at that when either Jacobs was dinged up or, he was tired and they took him out and they tried to put in other players, more times than not so much, and definitely not the force that Josh Jacobs was last year. Absolutely not. So, and if you can't have them under the running game, then they're going to come after Jimmy G in the pass game. It could be ugly, and then we get behind, and then you know how that it's like a snowball coming down the hill. So let's see. We should trade Josh Jacobs if we're being serious. Honestly, I could see that. I would say we should trade Devontae Adams if we're being serious. I don't think he's going to be fully utilized here. Like I said, 5-yard passes from Jimmy G. I don't see him throwing the ball deep. Again, unless we get Aiden O'Connell in there, and but he's not a big bomber either. He's a big kid, but accuracy is more his game. It's kind of tailored to that. So Devontae, he's a stud player, but if we could move him and get another first round pick, I would take that option for next year. And then we have 2 going in next year. If Aiden O'Connell doesn't pan out, then we go after one of those quarterbacks in the draft. Salute to you, Dark. How you doing tonight? I see you in here. The kid we got undrafted last season, Sincere McCormick, right? Yeah, he got injured. Sincere McCormick, that's his name. Yeah, but again, it's going to take at least a year to get healthy. They say 12 to 15 months on ACL injury, and he's a running back, so it's going to be tough. And he was undrafted. I'm not so sure, even if he would have not gotten hurt, if he'd even made the team, he probably would have been a reserve player anyway last year. So if you're going to be optimistic about that kid, I would say 2024 at this point. What's probably going to happen is we'll see him in preseason a little bit, maybe see some flashes. They'll put him on the reserve team, and we'll see what happens next offseason. That's what I think is going to happen. Yeah, I love that kid. Yeah. I mean, it would be nice. It'd be a heck of a story. I mean, we'll see though. Let's see. Any other comments? We're gonna kind of close this one out. We usually go about an hour. We're at 46 minutes in, so I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Like I said, not a lot to talk about here right now. Off season, things are slow. Free agents period's over. We just did have the post-June 1st cuts. Dalvin was cut. Ezekiel. As far as the big names go, unfortunately, in our salary cap situation, we got $30 million in dead cap. Like I said, most of it is the old regime. So this new regime, I can't blame them for that. Their hands are a little tied right now. Even if you took half that away, that'd be $15 million extra we'd have to play with. We could go out and get somebody, a marquee player. So, but that's not going to happen this year. It's probably why we got Jimmy G as a transitional guy. So I think the plan is to try to get through this season and at some point get Aiden O'Connell in there into the real games and see what he's got and move on from there, and then make a decision on him whether or not we go after a player in the draft in 24. My opinion says you can bet on where Cook goes, throw some money on Denver. They already got Samaje Perine, and Javonte, he messed up his knee too. I think this year he will be back, probably in the back half of the season. If I was Denver, I would not pay that. I would think if you're trying to talk about divisional teams, I'm thinking the Chargers, especially if they move Eckler. There's a lot of talk about them moving from Austin Eckler, not being able to reach an extension deal. That would be very interesting. If Eckler moves, you put Dalvin Cook in I was going to say San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers. I could totally see that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a fit. I mean, as far as the receiving game, you're really not missing much, from him to Dalvin, from Eckler to Cook. And then you've got the inside running game. I think Cook's better at running the ball inside the tackles. Not to say Eckler's any slouch. He's a little bit smaller, but wow, that would be tough. Peyton loves him. Sean Payton loves him. Nope, Peyton will make a play for him. I have to look at the salary cap situation for Denver. Again, they've kind of forsaken the defense the last couple seasons, if you've noticed that. Not quite as strong as it used to be when Fangio was there, but I could kind of see trying to build the offense up, and they did kind of bolster that offensive line. We'll see what happens with McGlinchey. They got from the 49ers off injured, but when he plays, he's pretty decent. Peyton was the Satan knows how to throw the cap. Well, yeah, That's part of it, but I'm wondering, I'd have to look at Russell Wilson's deal as well and how much they could actually defer. They lost a lot of draft capital. It's possible, but then why, if you're going to do that, why, I, I don't know. It could happen, but if I were them, I wouldn't do that. I would roll with Samaje Perine. That's who they got, free agent from the Bengals. Give him the starting job for now until Javonte comes back. I like Javonte Williams. I think he's a stud. I think he could do some damage, but I don't think it's gonna happen this year. I think 2024. Look out for Denver. I'm just gonna say, look out for Denver next year. I think there's gonna be a little bit of transition from the new regime, and to get this offense going, they got to do something. That's another thing. They've got what did I say? $30-40 million in caps tied up in their wide receivers. That's what a lot of people thought they were going to move on from Sutton. And then they got to deal with Jerry Jeudy as well. I think Tim Patrick's making pretty good money too. So something's got to happen with that. So I would say more 2024. To me, it doesn't make sense right now for them to do that. Could they do it? Sure. But I wouldn't. Peyton signs and we're in huge trouble. Williams kind of, I think we're kind of in trouble. And I said this in my, I'm going to stick to this part of the prediction, my season prediction. I think we're going to split with Denver this year. They haven't beat us since we were the Oakland Raiders. Since we've been to Vegas, Denver has not beaten us. I think that changes this year. Williams had ACL injury last year. I'm thinking he's going to be maybe 70% on the back half of the season. And then 2024, look out. Then that's when he bounces back. So I would not want to tie a lot of money up into Dalvin Cook because he's going to want a deal. He's not going to want a 1-year thing. He's going to get a deal somewhere, multi-deal. And I'm going to tie up Javonte Williams. Unless, of course, he gets hurt again. You never know. You can't predict those things. But I think Samaje Perine is a good transition guy as he goes in. He did pretty well spelling Joe Mixon. Not as good. I'm not saying not as good, but good enough. And I think they got to do something with the wide receiver situation as far as salary cap goes. I wish he was our coach. I wish we would have got him before. I was hoping we would have gotten him before the Saints did, way back in the day, back in the Dallas days. I was hoping for Peyton. Of course, that didn't happen. Straight dog. We'll see. Psycho Jackal says, just got on. O'Connell, will he play this year? My prediction is yes, due to the brittleness of Jimmy G. Even if he does pass the physical. Even if Jimmy, like I said, if I'm Josh McDaniels, I want to see what I got, because to me, this is kind of a throwaway year. We're not good enough to contend. We're shit on the salary cap. We got $30 million of dead space. The defense still needs to be reworked. I know we put some draft capital there, obviously, 1st and 3rd round picks, but we still got a ways to go. Chandler Jones, he'll probably bounce back, just get a contract, but he's going to be gone. So I want Tyree Wilson to be my starter alongside Max, and then go after more defensive help. Hope, get some cap relief next off season. Jimmy G's transitional. I want to see what Aiden O'Connell has. I want to see what he's got. We got him, the 4th round. So at some point in the season, throw him in there, see what he's got, and make a decision. Are we going to stick with this kid and develop him, or do we go to the draft? Spend big draft capital next year for somebody. So are we going to call him AOC or AC4? I think AOC, that name's already taken. So I've heard AOC. I haven't heard AC4 though. It's a little funny. You took Derek Carr's number 4. So I guess we went from DC to AC. You could say that too. So. Let's see. Any more questions? Any other final comments before we head out? Again, I will be back in 2 weeks. I will not be coming on next week. Again, I said why, just related to the channel, but also not a lot to talk about. What I'm going to sit here and you want me to get up here and play charades like NFL Network? You want me to drink fireballs? I mean, there's no real Raider content to be had right now. Unless, of course, like I said, something breaks with Josh Jacobs. If we trade him, something crazy happens. Jimmy G fails the physical, and now we're scrambling for. I guess Hoyer would be our starting quarterback until. I mean, at that point, I was like, I don't know how they're going to sell any seats to Silver and Black. I mean, come on, guys. Commitment to what? Commitment to Hoyer? I will be here. Cool. Hell no. Hell no. We don't want to do that nonsense. Play charades. All right, guys. I want to thank you guys for coming out and joining here. I know, like I said, channel's kind of stagnant, but I got a lot of regulars. You guys come in most every week. The same guys come in, same people, and I appreciate that. I want to thank you guys for that. We will see what O'Connell has in preseason. No, I want to see it. I want to see it live in the regular season against the real deal. I want to see how he works. That's the ultimate. And I think at some point we're going to be out of it anyway. Just put him in their last 4, 5, 6 games. See what you got. And then get the plan for 24 going. Hoyer. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I do not see a commitment to excellence here. I see a commitment to transition from rebuilding. This is what I mean. I tell the truth here. Speaking of which, let me end the poll here. Josh Jacobs' fate. What have we got? What's our final tally here? I'll click the button. It takes a second. Let's see what we got. All right. Final poll is out. And let's see. Most of you think we're going to be, we're actually, whoa. Wow. Something happened with my chat. There it is. 35% high vote. We'll get the contract. I'm in the camp with the 1-year tag deal. That's what I think. I think Josh Jacobs had a heck of a year. He's going to want to get paid. I don't think the Raiders are going to want to pay him. Like I said, in transition, you don't want to go heavy on running back. Let's see. All right. That said, I want to thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll have some more Raider content for you. Right now, I'm going to go hit the blackjack tables. See ya.
Something with all the distractions that you have off the field, how are you able to keep focused on winning football games as you do and do throughout the years?
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.